This is a special episode of In the Library of Graphic Literature, coming to you live on tape from a hidden location somewhere in downtown historic St. John's. This week, we're not looking at books. Well, we are looking at books, but we're looking at comics, and we're talking to a local artist and creator, Paul Tucker, who I'm going to bring in via boom tube. Okay, here he goes. Okay. Oh my God, look at that. Oh, here he is. Boom. Oh, how's it going?
It's going very well, thank you.
So we're here on a nice Easter Sunday, actually, and our comic is going to be hitting the stands any day now.
Yeah, very soon.
Yeah, I speak of Nobody Is in Control from Black Mass Comics, which Paul did the art for. I did the letters. Patrick Kindlon did the script.
That's right.
And local artist Judd Haynes did cover B.
Yes, yeah. So we got lots of Newfoundlanders involved in this one.
I do believe it's the first American comic with 3 Newfoundlanders on it, right?
Yeah, I'm curious if the publisher is even aware of that. We got to get Patrick here now,
Yeah.
Newfoundland, and make him an honorary Newfoundlander. So.
Well, yes. So, tell the folks your origin story.
Yeah, I'm from St. John's, and I've been drawing comics my whole life. I guess I usually point to around, 1990 or so, when I was like 9, and I really started to really want to do this like forever.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was probably right around when like Image Comics blew up, and I was just the right age for that to really capture my imagination. And the one thing that I took from that boom more than anything else was that these were books. The books that I was reading were actually created by the people who were like writing and drawing them. Like, I think something clicked in my brain. Like, I had some Marvel comics before that, and I liked them fine, but like, I was a big Savage Dragon fan, and I loved that it was created by this guy Eric Larson, and he was the one writing and drawing it every month, and he owned it, and he could do whatever he wanted with it. And so creator-owned comics appealed to me right away, and that's pretty much what I've kind of focused on. So I've gone to art school, and I've worked in advertising for 11 years now. But all along the way, I'm always drawing comics, trying to make my own stories, usually with a small group of other people, writers and letterers. So, I like that it's, with a small team you can produce something, and you don't need to really worry about like a budget like you would in a movie or whatnot. You just kind of limit it by your time and how many things you want to draw on a page. But I love the medium. I'm still thrilled by it, and I work on it every day.
Well, especially in independence too, you can really take your time, and with Nobody's in Control, I mean, while we're waiting on the publisher, you got a second crack at doing a few corrections or alterations to the finished comics, and just straighten it, adding a nice little touch to everything. All right.
Yeah, I've been fortunate, I guess, that publishers have been accommodating of my work schedule, where I have a full-time day job. I need a little extra time than someone who would be doing it full-time. But I can still produce like a full 24-page colored comic book in about 2 months, which isn't bad, I think.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. That's pretty steady going, but I like to have that little extra pillow of time.
Well, you as I know, and a lot of our friends know too, you actually get up. What's the exact time to start work in the morning? I have to have this on tape, right?
Oh yes, yeah. So I get up at 5 a.m. on weekdays, but I mean, realistically, I'm probably not pencil to paper till closer to 5:30 by the time coffee's kicked in and my eyes can focus. But yeah, I started doing that ages ago now, probably like 8 or 9 years ago almost. I just didn't want to spend my day at my day job just counting down the minutes till when I get to draw comics. So it kind of went against my thinking because I still don't really identify as a morning person, but I have found it to be really effective, and I'm good at solving problems in the mornings. And
So what time would you leave for work? You start at 5:30. You'll pencil till about.
oh, I have a little breakfast break in there somewhere, but I'll have to leave. Like these days, I can leave from my place pretty late. I usually leave the apartment at like 8:45. So, so all told, there's a good few hours of work in there, and I kind of have all the steps kind of broken up into units of time that I can more or less, like I know I can do this in my morning
In set
session.
time, yeah.
You know, so some pages will be exceptions to that. Like I know I can look at a page sometimes and be like, oh, that's more like a session and a half. Or
Yeah.
So,
As a matter of fact, you were one of my first students too. I as my viewers know, I teach comics, and Paul was in. Actually, that was my first class that I ever taught.
yeah.
In comics, right?
Yeah, I love thinking back on that time. My brother and I went into the university, and Wallace was teaching, and it was mostly an adult class, but he let us in, and it was just, I felt like I found this club that I wanted to be a part of, and we were looking at understanding comics, West Comic Cloud, and learning about the Ames lettering guide, and I remember you put a video on about Jack Kirby, and
Oh yeah, that would have been from the Comic Book Confidential. Yes, okay.
It was great. So no, I love that I found a place where other people were talking about this stuff.
And here we are years later working. Well, and also to the Breakdown Comic Jam, which is going on 10 years, which we found about 10 years ago when I came back from New York, and I mean, which I love because it gives us a chance to touch base with the local burgeoning talent here in St. John's and that.
Yeah, the Comic Jam, it's something I feel really good about, and it kind of recaptures that feeling I had as a kid,
Yeah.
Like, oh wow, there's a whole room full of people, and like we've had big rooms full of people now. We're lucky that our numbers have been really healthy in recent years, and it's great energy in there. I usually come out of it feeling pretty.
Oh yeah, myself too. Yeah, you get. I come out of it with this. I want to go home and work on some comics.
Yeah, that's great.
Now, you brought along some of your work here of course too. So tell us about. We'll go through your work and your work process and the like here.
Sure. I'll go through a quick kind of breakdown of the various steps that I go through, and I'll just show you each piece here. So this would be a piece of script. This is all for a book called Tet, which I was the artist on. It was written by Paul Allor and published in 2015 and 2016.
Okay.
So he'll send me the script, and of course, the first thing I'll do is I have these templates which I'll sketch my my thumbnails onto. Now, that probably doesn't make much sense to anyone beyond me, and it's a little smudged with having been a few years old now. But I really love the thumbnail stage. I find it's like figuring out a puzzle and solving all sorts of problems and saving you lots of headaches down the line if you spend a healthy amount of time on them, which I tend to. I actually, you'll see, I spend quite a bit of time. I even do an inked stage for my thumbnails, which I'll throw down some tracing paper, which is one of my favorite tools. A very cheap tool is tracing paper.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah, I love having pads of tracing paper on hand at all times.
I gotta say, as a letterer too, I mean, having the luxury of following your guides and all that makes my job so much easier.
Yeah, I can't imagine people thumbnailing their book without like thinking about where the lettering is going to go. I mean, you just need to be able to budget in like the headspace so that you have enough room for the balloons, and it's just a part of the drawing. You need to be able to like factor it in so that how the eye will move around the page.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely like to include that in the thumbnails. So I even go another step further. I don't know if anyone goes this far with their thumbnails, but I color them. Where I am the colorist usually on the books I work on, I go ahead and color the thumbnails as well. Again, this helps me a lot because once I know I'm going to solve certain drawing issues with color, then that takes some of the pressure off, like the penciling and inking stages.
Yeah.
Because okay, am I gonna try and like render out these clouds through line, or okay, I know I'm gonna be the colorist. I'll just knock these shapes in with using color.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's something I've learned to really enjoy. I came to coloring quite late, having grown up in a time when like computer coloring wasn't super accessible.
Oh God, yes.
didn't exist.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I kind of took myself back to school in that department like probably 10 years ago and really studied up on color theory. And
well, it seems to have worked.
Yeah, it's something in my work that most people respond to the most strongly, which I'm fine with because I love the process and it's one of the more inspiring parts for me.
Yeah, you do great mood pieces, what I found.
Yeah.
Right?
I guess I'm a bit inspired by like German expressionism, where color is like emotional. It doesn't have to actually always be local. Like, I mean, it can be. You can kind of start that way, but I'm a big fan of like, you know, just a big, bold, vibrant color to show extreme anguish or whatever.
Well, it was when talking to you, and we were looking. I can remember me and you one time looking at Higgins' work on Watchmen and his use of color, like in the scenes, the reflection from the neon light and all that, and which I'd seen in New York. And when I was in New York, I used to even going through Times Square, I'd be looking at the blue and red and orange faces of people. Right?
Yeah, I'm a big believer. Like, you know, sometimes people see photography or film, like, say, tourism ads for Newfoundland, and say, well, the colors don't ever look like that. And I'm like, well, the colors are beautiful.
Yeah.
And like, but you can't capture it on a flat piece of paper like you can see it with your eye in real life. So
yes,
anything you want to do to exaggerate it on that flat surface so that you feel that kind of like beauty.
Okay, yeah, okay. So
like I'm willing. I think that's like an artistic license thing, but I think you can go ahead and amp that stuff up.
Ratchet it up a bit, yeah, okay, yeah, for sure.
This is the next step here is the embarrassing one. So I like to shoot reference, and so I dress up occasionally and put the camera on a tripod, and I find I get a lot of good information, especially for drapery and how clothing folds and little bits of lighting information that's hard to kind of like make up out of my head, and it just kind of fills out some of the kind of realism I guess I go for in a certain way, and it saves me a lot of drawing struggles.
Yeah, let's see those pencils now.
Yes,
this is the pencils from those very...
Yeah, so this is the pencil stage, which I actually break up into two stages, like a rough structural drawing, and then more detailed with a darker lead.
And then will I flip it around?
Yeah, flip it around. So
and then, ta-da!
Yeah, so I tend to pencil on one side of the Bristol, scan that in, and then print it out again in a blue, so that I have a fairly clean page to ink over.
I always love that approach of yours, right? It's because you still got the pencils too. There,
it is
right?
cool, yeah. I mean, with nobody's in control, we were doing it a bit more old school, so we were inking right over the pencils, which meant I spent a lot of time physically erasing a page, which I never thought was. I've heard artists complain about it in the past. I'm like, geez, I mean, it's not that bad. But then when you get a stack of like 10 pages, you got to erase.
yeah.
Oh boy, it gets.
Well, that's where an electric eraser comes in. I just got to get refills for it, right?
Yeah, it can be pretty exhausting. Yeah, so this is the actual, that page is from issue 2 of Det. So the actual finished page is in here. So
Okay.
right here.
And this was from IDW here. Oh yeah, I like that.
Yeah, so the finished colored page is not, doesn't end up being like super far from the thumbnail, but
yeah.
But you know, for final work, a final piece of work where you want the reader to be able to like read it seamlessly, and obviously you go through all those steps to clean it up and have a finished product. So yeah, that's kind of my process in a nutshell.
Okay.
You know, each of those stages have maybe some other more minor stages, but
that's essentially yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I'm thrown into the mix at times.
Yeah, I've been trying to include Wallace in most everything I'm working on these days, be it lettering or doing some inking on a newer project that we're hoping to be pitching soon. And it's really fun to be able to actually go see someone in real life and, you know, physically hand off the pages or pour over them and get advice or talk things through. And it's just comics are often a lonely endeavor. And
yeah.
I tend to work with people who I don't see very often, or maybe I never meet them at all. So to be able to just drive down the street and
drop off pages or pick
Yeah.
up pages
yeah.
in the middle of the night like something mysterious.
Yeah. I would love for someone to oversee us as we're exchanging pages at night.
Yeah, what are those guys up to?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, oh yeah, do you have a copy of the? Not TED. Our latest thing. This is we got our comps this week.
Yes, it's finally here. This is the first issue of Nobody Is in Control. I'm really pleased with how it all turned out. I think it's going to turn a few heads. I had a friend read it recently, and
Oh, I read it last night, by the way, again.
oh, good. And they were pretty interested to see where the story was going to go. I think it's got a great narrative that runs through it, and it'll keep you flipping the pages. And
Oh, even from the first time that I started lettering it and reading the scripts, I can remember asking you, "Do you got script number 2? Do you got script number 3? Okay, number 4. I got to finish this." Because
Yeah.
and it's great though, isn't it, to be working on a project that you believe in too.
yeah.
I've always said that you have the knack for picking out good scripts, right?
I try to make sure I'm working on something that I'm going to enjoy, because
Yeah.
you know, once you commit to something, that's going to be probably a year of your life, or if not more, right?
Yeah.
So-
True. Let's have a look at the your latest thing there. That you're bringing to TCAF with you.
This is a little preview copy of a thing called Walk. So I'll shout out friend Michael Walsh. When he was visiting Newfoundland this summer, he and I were chatting about the comics industry, and he suggested what I needed to do was something small that I would write myself, not have to be reliant on any publishers or writers, and just do it myself. And so I kind of wrote what I knew, which I guess was walking, which I tend to do a lot. And this is a 16-page comic designed as a kind of loop that mimics my walk between my house on Carty Place and downtown Comics, which is a walk I would often take.
And I guest star on that page there.
That's right. Yeah, that page got nice and meta, where Wallace was doing the lettering for this one as well. And so each page is a different street on that journey, and you could ostensibly start at either end of the comic and read from front to back or back to front. It doesn't really matter. It's stories that are triggered by memories and or things that I imagine when I'm on that walk.
And I love the map too, where you can see your route too, right?
Oh yeah, it's hard to pass up on an opportunity to draw a map. So
I think that's my first editing credit too, actually.
Yeah, well, yeah, I remember I brought you the early mock-up when it was in thumbnail format, and I fully redid 2 or 3 pages after our discussions. So
Okay, excellent.
yeah, and I told you to have at any of the dialogue as you were lettering it. So
Yeah, yeah. Okay, excellent. Well, well, our time is almost up here. Actually, and I mean, geez, there's still even so much. You still got a stack of stuff there. I'll have you back sometime.
Sure.
But so folks, I'd say within 2 weeks at least.
I mean, the books are in my hands, so
Yeah.
they should be in the shops pretty soon. I would
Yeah.
think, as long as Diamond is doing their job.
Yeah, so run out and ask your local comic book store owner to get you Nobody's in Control, because it's bloody cool. And of course, I love. We got to, like I say, our friend Judd Haynes to do the cover B. So it's it's so cool to have, like I say, three people all from the same city working on one comic.
Yeah,
right?
it's awesome. Yeah.
Okay, folks. Well, with that, I'd say I'll boom to both of us out of here. I'll get one over there and one there. One take you. That way, I'll go this way. Okay. Well, I'll see you folks next week. Oh my God! I can feel the bull. Ah!